All right, part D of Introduction to Cloud Computing and Big Data / Data Engineering. And this is the last of the three little sections on defining a cloud. So let's get going. So in this section, we look at some sort of really high level stuff. How much money in clouds, who has market share, and how are they important are they to the people who use them. 2017, the competitive positioning of different vendors. We have here Amazon, followed by Microsoft, Google, Alibaba, and we plot here growth rate up here, where of course Google and Microsoft and Alibaba are up higher. IBM's actually even a little lower, but it's still a solid player. Oracle is a tiny bit higher than Amazon. But here's another view of this, which is the market share, showing Amazon again pretty dominant. And as this is Q3 2018, a year later, we see Amazon over the last year has gone up 1% in share. It's gone up a lot more in volume. Microsoft has gone up the most. Google is also 1%. Alibaba 1%. And in fact, Microsoft is by far the best performing of the major vendors. Here's another plot, which is an estimate of how the major vendors will be divided. We have Amazon, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. And we see the expectation is that Google will grow factor of 4 from 2015 to 2020. Microsoft a factor of 2 in share, but Amazon will decrease. But again, it's a little, you have to be a little careful because actually Amazon is increasing dramatically in volume. It's just such a big player and started first. It stands little chance of not going down in percentage. And even so, in 2020, it is twice the size of the nearest competitor, which is Microsoft, and it's over half the total. So it's a major player. And finally, in this set of slides, we have the revenue not divided by vendor, but divided by type. Here we have software as a service, infrastructure as a service, and platform as a service. And we've described what those are: software as applications, infrastructure, the actual hardware, the machines, the virtual images, and P is the middleware, platform. Here is another plot with the Amazon revenues as a function of time through a year ago. I'm talking at the end of 18. So this is Q3 17. And we see the income's gone up to 4.5 billion a year, 4.5 billion a quarter. But this is this is still going up fast because here we have up through 2018, and we have Amazon topping 6 billion for the quarter. And here the operating profit is pretty solid, so they can actually decrease their prices. This is a pretty healthy profit. And in fact, we know that in some years, Amazon Web Services actually are either the only thing making a profit in Amazon or a significant fraction of that profit. Here is another view of this, which is the Amazon sales, quarterly sales. And so here, this is the latest number, $6.68 billion. Pretty impressive number, and it's just remarkable how solidly and reliably it's increasing. It shows that the demand for cloud computing is still really solid. All right, here is an update, the sort of revenue picture. You see things are still increasing. In fact, here is the rate of increase year-to-year growth. It is pretty flat now for the last, since the middle of 2016, it's been flat at Well, it says 58%, over 50% per year. So that's not many things grow 50% per year or more for a long time, whereas cloud computing has. Here we actually see the decomposition by vendor. Amazon is still much the largest, followed by Microsoft, followed by Google. Notice Google screwed up and didn't actually get into this field, even though they invented most of the core technologies. They didn't give access to public cloud computing until around here, 2016, early 2017. And Google and Microsoft, I think, actually have similar increases per year, somewhat more than Amazon. But if you're number one, you don't go up quite as fast as number 2 and 3. So I don't think Amazon's doing badly. They have a very magnificent system. And it's going to keep on going, I think. Probably not at 50% per year, but a pretty high fraction per year for the foreseeable future. All right, thank you. As we said, this is a related slide showing a related effect. Here are from Wikibond, which is another online website telling you useful things. And this one tells you how the various forms of enterprise computing change with time. Here we're sort of here, 2018. And here we have that maybe clouds are a third of the total at this stage here, and they're going to be 50% of the total somewhere, well, they're certainly 50%, they're probably 50% here, 2026. And this is divided in various categories here, some staff in the middle here, this purple thing. And notice that these ones here are going down. Operational IT staff in enterprise is declining 7% per year. So the job of working in enterprise is not a winning idea. However, if you want to go and work in a cloud vendor, that's growing 19% per year. So jobs are switching from the enterprise data centers to the cloud data centers. And the size of the enterprise operation is declining 3% per year, the traditional operation. And as I said, the clouds are going up 19%. So this is pretty interesting. And you can study this in detail and show the different components, how accurate they are. I don't know. And some of these separations are not so clearly interesting to me, but I think the message is clear. People are moving to the cloud. I think this difference is very interesting. 19% public clouds, minus 3% traditional enterprise. Remember that one. All right, so if you were a CIO and somebody surveyed you and you said, what's important to me? What am I worried about? Well, there are many things to worry about, but in this survey, 74% clouds were on their mind. And the next thing on their mind was the Internet of Things. How do I cope with all these things around my organization? Monitoring my equipment and my cars and my aircraft and actually even my people, because they're for the wearables, which are broadcasting everything to the world. And then AI is going, they should be more worried about AI because AI is going to have real importance to their organization. 3D printing, that's maybe now it's almost getting established. Virtual reality or augmented reality. And then back here is blockchain. That's pretty yummy technology. That's all about cryptocurrency and trusted, distributed ledgers. Pretty important in this world. Hi, here we have a different type of plot. This is the plot through 2021 of the IT infrastructure, divided into traditional data centers, public clouds, and private clouds. and you can see that the cloud fraction reaches 50% in 2021. Another Just an update of this graph to 2022 shows almost the same, little change between 21 and 22. And notice, of course, the amount of money spent in the purple part, magenta maybe, is 67 billion in 2015 and 163 billion in 2020. So it's increasing and hugely increasing in total value, but also increasing in fraction. And then we have a later plot which points out that although data centers are 50% of the deployment footprint in around 2020, they're actually a much smaller fraction of the workload because clouds are much more efficient. You can deploy many more images on a single machine in a cloud than you can on a traditional data center. So clouds are more like over 90% of the actual work done. So this is a pretty remarkable trend. Here we come back to Amazon and dollars, and this is something which I already mentioned. This is the total Amazon revenue in orange, and the Amazon Web Services revenue in black. And we see in Q1 17, actually Amazon Web Services were 90% of the actual income, dollars in the pocket, whereas they're only 10% of the revenue, the dollars spent, showing that they didn't make a lot of profit on their business, I mean, their basic business of selling things. This is a plot we've seen already. This is the quarterly revenue, showing peaks at Christmas, of course. That's the Black Fridays and I don't know what color green Christmas is and things like that, and Santa Clauses drive it up at every year. That quarter's the largest quarter by a very significant amount. But the other quarters, of course, are pretty solid as well. And the final set of this is the update to 2018, showing in Q2 2018, even with the income was only 50% of the total, and actually 12%, slightly higher fraction of the total revenue. But still, the profit on Amazon Web Services is much higher than on the rest of Amazon, which tells you something. But probably the most simple, it tells you Amazon could reduce their prices if they were pushed by competition. At the moment, presumably Google and Microsoft match or they act as a barrier on the price that Amazon can charge, but still they're all making lots of money. It's a good business to be in, which is sort of quite surprising to me. It's such a good business. So that's the dollar picture. Thank you. Money. Here's another look at this increase from 67 to 162, showing how it goes up per year. This again with this 19%.